So Ray Torah.
Torah. I want to extend a warm greeting to those people who apparently are somewhat numerous who are participating in this on live stream or later picking it up and whatever. And so we don't see them, but they see us, and we should let them know we love them. And it's lovely that they pick up that way. It's good technology. I'm in favor of technology. I hope everybody is well. Let's see. When it says people enter the room, and it gives me a choice to admit, you understand that's great power? It doesn't say you have to admit. It says, if you feel like admitting. So I have to think about every name. And if I really want to see them.
With great power comes great
Hannah can
responsibility.
overrule you, Rabbi.
I know.
It's analytical.
I know. It's very, it's very little power. And it's good to see Kevin here today, who just this instant wiped out Farnez and put in his name. So that works. Hi, everybody. Oh,
hi.
Let's see what we have here. Karen and Ray. Carrie's eating breakfast. That's good. What are we having for breakfast today?
We are having the most wonderful apple turnover.
Yum.
Oh, yum.
Oh,
What happened to the rule
Burnt
about
them up.
bringing them to the whole enough for the whole class?
I love
Yeah,
the
Yeah. Yeah.
flowers
You're
in
supposed to
your hair.
yeah, and
I love
I
the
see
flowers.
Merle, I see Effie, Barbara.
Yes.
Barbara is definitely there. Cindy, hi, Cindy. Steve and Anonymous behind brilliant white. I don't know, you are always, in the bright light. Steve is in the darkness, and that's how I view the two of you. Light, but
That's
that's
because Mona doesn't like this chair and made me switch.
okay. Susie, Tamara, Shabbat Shalom, Doris, Donna. Hi.
Shabbat shalom.
Asa, yeah, got the coffee going. Mara, are you alone? Harvey's not there? Oh wait, what's a Hague?
Oops.
She is.
Close.
Oh. Diane, Boker Tov, Shabbat Shalom, Panina, Shabbat Shalom, Jim. Hi, Jim. Oh, good morning, good morning. Larry, hi.
This feels a little bit like the old Romper Room TV show, waiting for the teacher to say your name over the TV.
I think that pretty much ends today's conversation. Barbara, Shabbat Shalom. Hi, Kevin. Howard, hi. Donna, hello. And I see
Hello.
Gary and Brad.
Yes.
Okay, these are the people. Great group. Shabbat Shalom. Wonderful.
Shalom.
I had an email from a friend who wanted to say something about, oh, Stan, you are such high energy, So he put in, Stan, you are such high R energy. So I spent 15 minutes looking up in Google what R energy is. And I didn't find anything satisfactory. So I wrote him back and I said, so what's R energy? It said, it means I have a fat thumb. And I hit a letter I shouldn't have. So there goes 15 minutes. Okay. Diane, Panina, Brad, Gary. Oops. We have, let's see. Oh, Ray, hi. Okay, very good. All right. The current events class. I don't know about you, and I really don't care. I had a good time this past current events class. Our next one is coming up on Wednesday, February 16th. Tell people about it. Let them know that we have this radical, open, controversial, say what we want kind of a thing, and they might enjoy that. February 16th. I'd like to congratulate Cindy Sisterhood for having a great meeting with Doug Lynn. How do I know it was a great meeting? Because I had to sit there while Risa gave me a 20-minute readout.
You could have joined us.
Yeah, I would have been better.
Yeah, you could have
off.
been there.
I would have been better off being there. But the point is that Doug Lynn gave a apparently quite excellent description of the physical plans for the University Synagogue building. And
Pictures help.
very exciting, very, very exciting. And as now part of the staff at Wilshire Boulevard, I am obligated to tell you, and if any of you would like to take advantage of a naming opportunity, there is a chance for you to have the campus named in your family name, or if you choose to have it named in my name, and I'm sure it's only a few $1 million, give or take. So, you can go for it. Effie?
Yeah, can we see that, a replay of that, Cindy?
No, I don't think Julia recorded it. But hopefully he'll do one for the whole congregation. I don't know why that hasn't happened. I have suggested it.
Yeah, but it was a privilege. It laid out, and I saw some of the slides. You know what, Effie? Risa took screenshots. Maybe I'll ask if she's talking to me today. I'll ask Risa to send you a copy of the screenshots.
It was very well done.
Oh yeah, but it not only was it well done, it was kind of like, really? Wow. Okay. So that's nice. Calendar, Winter Olympics. That's going on now.
Wait, there's an Orthodox Jewish girl in the figure skating,
Yes.
Oh, wow, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Haley
Yeah.
from Israel.
First
Oh,
time.
wonderful.
Much more important than that, February 13th is the Super Bowl. And we live in Los Angeles. And if you say the word Cincinnati, you will be in serious trouble, except that I do have to say that Cincinnati chili is fabulous. So, okay. Cindy, anything else coming up?
No, COVID's kind of stalling us still.
Okay, well, you had a great run so far this year, so that's okay. Jim Ruxin?
Nothing tonight, but next week we're going to see a charming small movie called Chapter and Verse. And it's made by an all-Black crew and cast in honor of Black History Month. And it's about a gang member who's released from prison on parole, and he's trying to go straight and tries to help a friend's grandson from going into the same gang life. It's all about doing the right thing. It's not a negative film at all. It's about sacrifice and redemption. And I think you'll find it very charming and very warm and funny. And it's worth seeing. It's just no stars, just a really well-made, engaging film.
Super, super. I was trying to think of the name of my favorite prison escape movie. Oh God, it was so terrific.
Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No.
Shawshank Redemption.
Happy,
Yes.
happy.
Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption, yeah.
Well, that wasn't in a, yeah, that was great, but yeah.
Oh,
That
wow.
was really good.
Okay, so we are beginning with Exodus chapter 25, verse 17 and following, 25, 17 and following. In the New Plout 546, in the WRJ commentary 456, which is a lovely page, 456, 456 or 54. Oh, wait. 546 in the Plout, 456 in the women's commentary. That's got to be some kind of Kabbalistic coincidence. I'll have to look into that. We began, and this was like 4 or 5 years ago when we began this Sedra, and talked about Va'asuli Mikdash Shachanti B'tocham, make for me a Mikdash, a sanctuary, and I will dwell in your midst. And then it goes on to talk about how that construction actually takes place. And chapter 25, verse 17 begins it. And it starts right off, Va'asita chaporet zahav tahor. And you shall make, and the translation is, a cover of pure gold. The Hebrew is kaporet. Listen to the Hebrew. The Hebrew is kaporet. The translation is cover, and we'll talk about that. Does the word kaporet resonate with you? Can you hear something else in kaporet? Okay, I see Donna.
Kippur, Yom Kippur.
Kippur. Kippur. Okay, thank you, Ray. Old plow, what would you say? 6 or what? It went away too fast. Okay, yeah.
605.
And the interesting thing, many interesting thing, I went to Google to try to see if Google had anything important to say about kaporet. And the first thing it said is disambiguation.
Oh my goodness.
And I thought that was really lovely. That's a word, I know what it means, but I've never, ever used in human conversation. Like when someone would say something confusion, would you ever say, could you help us move toward disambiguation? Okay, but disambiguation, if you take it apart, really says what it means. This thing is ambiguous and we have to dis the ambiguous. We have to, how about saying clarify instead of disambiguation? Okay, so disambiguation, apparently, kaporet is of unclear etymology. So Kippur is of unclear etymology. Yom Kippur is of unclear etymology, which operates in such a way as to give rabbis great opportunities for sermons. You know, what could it really mean? Now, it's sometimes translated as mercy seat. And you can find this in some Christian translations. I have no clear idea. It could mean to cover. It could mean to atone. It could mean to propitiate, which is another word I use, but rarely, propitiate. The word also enters into theological discourse between Judaism and Christianity. The Catholic Church came to view the ark that is being described here as a place where God descends and either speaks in some way to Moses, or forgiveness is kind of handled in some way. And the church points out that the mercy seat, their language, the mercy seat, which is on the ark, and we'll explain why that term is used, became dysfunctional, non-functional, because instead of coming to God individually for atonement, which that mercy seat might represent, the crucifixion provided the one event. If you believe in it, atonement door is open for you. So you don't need the mercy seat, and therefore the ark and its imagery has been superseded by the theological power of the crucifixion. How about that when you thought you were just talking about the ark and the angels, right? It's really one of those places where there is theological discussion. I have an image of what is described here of a rectangular box with two staves for carrying through rings on the box, and on top of the box, two cherubim. So if you wanted to disambiguate the mercy seat thing, now we have to disambiguate cherubim. Lo and behold, there are Jewish and Christian views about cherubim too, also. I had to do the funeral of a very, very, very close 40-year friend on Thursday. And one of the things that I did, because she was an extraordinary person, was to take a verse right out of our Sedra, though I didn't say it was from the Sedra. The ark, this box, was gold outside and in. And the rabbis refer to this as toho kavoro, that the interior of the ark, or the box, the interior was the same pure gold as the exterior. And the rabbis will use toho, its inside, kavoro, its outside, in describing a person who not only was, let's say, physically attractive, but morally and ethically attractive. And the way to say that in the Jewish tradition, and you might want to learn it because we meet people like this. Think about it. Do you know someone, toho kavoro, someone who was of pleasant appearance? Harvey, stop looking at Mara that way. Jeez, we're on a group thing here. We're watching you. Okay. Gee, you threw me off now. Okay, someone who is what we'd say is really a beautiful person, internally, externally. Toho kavoro, that's here.
Rabbi Leader.
I'm sorry?
Rabbi Leader is.
Okay, I think we could take a vote on that. He probably would win, but you know, you can't guarantee that in a democratic setting. Oh, this is recorded. Definitely, absolutely true. Ooh.
And you, Rabbi Davis.
Well, that's clear. Thank you, Donna. At least, no, I'm not going there. Okay. You have a box, rectangle, and then you have a cover. And the cover has two cherubim on it. And you notice what my hand gesture did, because the cherubim face each other. And that the gold of the lid and the gold of the cherubim are of one. It's not like the cherubim were soldered onto the lid. The lid was made in such a way that there were segments of gold left unfinished from the lid, and those segments, I can do this without moving my hands, and those segments of gold were shaped into the cherubim. They are one. They are one. And you do know, if you saw Raiders of the Lost Ark, where that ark is today. Does anyone remember?
Ethiopia,
You remember, where is it?
Ethiopia.
No, that wasn't it. By
I
the way,
didn't see the movie.
It's in a warehouse in Washington.
Yeah.
A warehouse in Washington, somewhere in the GSA, the Government General Services, and it's in a locker someplace, or it's in Ethiopia, in a place that is still guarded today by a special elite group of Ethiopian military, a special group in a special mountain, and the ark is there. We have two floating arks. One is the one on Mount Ararat from Noah, that's spelled differently. That ark is there. The other ark, Ethiopia, or in a Washington storehouse. Now look at the description. By the way, neither is true, in case, just got to be clear. Make 2 cherubim of gold, make them of hammered work at the 2 ends of the cover. Make 1 cherub at one end, the other cherub at the other end. 1 piece, right? It's all solid. Make the cherubim at the 2 ends. And the cherubim shall have their wings spread out above, shielding the cover with their wings. They shall confront each other.
Okay.
They face each other. The face of the cherubim turned toward the cover. That last part is understood to mean the cherubim don't really look toward each other, but in modesty look down a little bit. Do you understand what I'm saying? The cherubim are up here. They could be facing directly, but rather modestly, they have their heads turned toward the ark cover, the lid, okay? They shall confront each other, place the cover on top of the ark after depositing inside the ark the pact that I will give you. Okay, so here is our question of the day. What goes into this structure, the ark with the lid and the cherubim? What is inside it according to Jewish tradition during this period of time? What's inside it?
The staff, the Moses staff and the Aaron's rod.
Moses' staff is not in there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The Ten
have-
The
Commandments?
10 Commandments.
And the broken one.
I have Moses' staff here. I bought it from an antiquities dealer.
Oh, wow.
No, I didn't. Donna, what were you saying?
The Ten Commandments.
10 Commandments
And
and
the
the
broken
fragments.
one.
Okay, so you have the
That's
10
correct.
Commandments, the stone tablets that Moses is said to have brought down from Sinai. They're deposited inside the Aron, in the ark, in this structure. But there's something else there.
Isn't there supposed to be the pieces from the tablets that were destroyed?
Who said that? Who said that?
I said that before.
I said it.
I said it.
Hey, kids, let's not fight. We're gonna be good. Okay, Sukasa. Okay, Steve. Who was the third person who said it?
Cindy.
Okay, Cindy. All right. There is, again, if you're invited to give a talk about Judaism to any group, tell this story. When the ark was carried through the desert, it carried the actual of the day, real 10 Commandments on stone, but it also carried the broken shards of the first set of 10 Commandments. Okay, in 2 sentences, what's the sermon? Come on, in 2 sentences, what's the sermon?
Too heavy.
Too heavy is not the sermon.
What is broken is still important.
I like that.
Oh,
What is broken is still important. Does anyone else want to offer
Sure.
a sermon on this?
My hand up, but I don't want to get in front of
Me too.
anyone.
Okay, try to use the electronic hands up if you can. Joseph Perling, hi, good Shabbos. anyone have a hand up on this? I would also say it's not the broken pieces alone that we carry with us, but as Jews, we live a living tradition, which is not only the tradition, the Judaism of today, but we carry with us 3,000 years of heritage. Sometimes people don't understand that about us. Sometimes they think it's all today, but we aren't shaped by all today. There's a lot more to us than all today. We carry the broken pieces, the full pieces. Anyway, it is a great sermon. Very impressive. Okay, Penina?
Yeah.
There were other hands. Steve and Ray, I think, had their hands for a long time.
Okay. Thank you for helping, because being blind is my great strength. Steve and?
Well, somebody else now, but
Okay.
My question
Steve,
is,
Susan,
To you,
Kevin,
Steve.
is there a correlation between this and the Kabbalistic foundation about the shards that we need to try to put back together?
No. That was fun.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, no, but it's a great question, and I hate to compliment you sitting in the dark as you are, but according to the Kabbalistic notion, which I'm not going to go into this point, at a certain moment in the creative process, that which was pure God touched that which was material, and parts of the pure God shattered and fell to the earth to be encapsulated in materiality. And the goal of human beings is to free the sparks, and we call that process tikkun olam. Okay, so it has nothing to do with the 10 Commandments, but it is another repairing broken pieces. Yes. Okay. Did I miss another hand before I get to Penina? I'm sorry. Okay. All right. I see Doris.
Yeah. What just occurred to me, and I don't know if it is, but does it have anything to do with the fact that we break a glass at our wedding ceremony and it shatters, and was, they say one of the things I've heard is that the reason it shatters, it's because it takes a very long time to put it back together, and your marriage should last as long as that.
Oh, wow.
I could have followed up with a couple of comments about other things that it takes a long time to do, like getting the mother-in-law on, but no, I am not going to go there. Actually, the broken glass, Doris, is meant to have at least two meanings. One is zecher l'chorban. It's a memory of the destruction of the temple. And one of the things that Judaism insists, that even in the midst of total joy, we have to remember pain. Even at the moment when Mazel Tov, kiss the bride, smash the glass, remember, and within an Orthodox service, they will even sing something which connects to Jerusalem. They will do that, okay, at this point. The other kind of a thing is we live in a world of broken glass. Metaphor. We live in a world of broken glass. Take your love, make your love strong. I'm delivering a wedding sermon here. And make your love strong enough that it can survive in the real world out there and not just beneath the chuppah. So those are two references. Penina.
Okay, it's basically what you just said about how the past affects the present and the future. And also what you do reflects the generations, something that, okay, there is in the Bible that if you do a sin, it will affect the generations to come. And it will be remembered. So a person has to be very careful with his actions and his convictions. And like chetot avon avot al banim, what your fathers did will reflect the children. So it's kind of like summing what you said, it's a lesson to learn from the generation past, so you don't forget them. And we are a product of it. I have another word that shows up in this parsha that yesterday we were debating exactly what it means. It says that Ashchina is going to be, V'shachanti betocham, build me an ark and I will dwell among them. The word shachen in Hebrew is a neighbor. So how do you determine really what a neighbor is? A neighbor could be something different to every person. Somebody known to someone and somebody unknown to someone. Someone can think that it's a good thing. Somebody thinks his neighbor is not so good. And sometimes you don't even know your neighbor. You never seen him. So the word neighbor, v'shachanti betocham, and I would be a neighbor to everybody, it's open to such a big interpretation and wide interpretation. To each person, it's going to be something different. But
okay, thank you for that.
How would you explain that? I would like to know your take on the word v'shachanti betocham, and I would be a neighbor to everybody.
Okay, Tamara's saying there are several hands that have, let's get this.
Susan,
okay.
Ray.
Okay, I am missing, there's several hands that have been up for a while. You gotta help me with the electronic thing, with hitting the gold hand that comes up, because I do, forgive me, have real trouble seeing at this point. The gold hand, I have a better chance. And I know that several of you are committed to helping me see, so that when I get yelled at by Effie, I know that I've missed somebody's hand. But good. Now, v'shachanti b'tocham, I could say, an easy thing. We discussed that 3 years ago and resolved it. But v'shachanti b'tocham is very properly understood as I will dwell. If you talk about a neighborhood, a shchuna, right? You talk about a neighborhood in Israel, what neighborhood? Oh, you're Abu Tor, you live here, you live there. What neighborhood do you live in? Shekhinah, the Shachanti, became a pretext, a base, which the Kabbalah Zohar then took and really expanded into the indwelling presence of God, Shekhinah. Okay, what about neighbors? Risa and I in New York lived in an apartment building on the Upper East Side with just a large number of apartments. And I would have to say, we probably knew nobody. That when you get into an elevator in an apartment in New York, you don't talk to strangers. You get in the elevator, you face forward, the thing goes up or down, and ordinarily, unless it's a murder mystery and someone shoots somebody in the elevator, you don't talk to anybody. You don't talk to anybody. So they're neighbors. There are 500 apartments where we live here, and I would say absolutely we really know at least 6 people. And that's it. So, and I don't know what it is, those of you with freestanding houses. The deal here is that through this box, God descends to the space in between the 2 cherubim. When you say descends, I understand Maimonides would shoot me because God isn't descending into a space. But that's not what these people were doing when they wrote it. God descends into the space between the cherubim. Then there's a debate. When Moses comes in, does he speak with God panim el panim, face to face, in there and God talks to Moses? Or does God speak to Moses through a parochet, a curtain from that space? Okay, so there are all kinds of questions, but the deal is simple. It's not God is your neighbor. God is present in your life. That's a different word than neighbor, even though in Hebrew, as you well know, both are possible. Long answer, but I want to get to more because there is an awful lot more, an awful lot more. And I dropped all my notes on the floor, so I have no idea what I'm going to say next. Okay. So some people.
Rabbi Sukasa and Ray had their hands raised.
Thank you. Sukasa, then Ray.
Could it be that it means that God dwells within you, within the person?
And Sukasa, I would say that that would be a good Kabbalistic drash. They would like that. Okay? Do the biblical authors think of it in that way? Of course, I don't know the mind of the biblical authors, but I would doubt it.
But what about the concept that the relationship with God is a dual relationship, that he has responsibility, it has responsibilities to us, and we have responsibilities to God?
Mhm. I like that.
We like it, but it is modern. It is a good reading that I would be happy talking about from the Bima, giving one of my extraordinary sermons. But Tamar, you got to help me. I think that's foreign to the biblical authors.
It's hard to know. My tendency is to read Betocham in their midst, not simply with the cherubim, but the people, the community, because of the plural.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see it as within the person so much as within the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Now, what do these things look like? What are cherubim? I did a count just in readiness for this class. Cherubim, cherubim are used in the Torah 91 times.
91.
Oh, in the Bible, excuse me, in the Bible, 91 times. 91 times. Okay. You can
Rabbi,
out.
I have my hand up. May I speak, please? About the cherub?
Yeah, please.
When Yasla and Joyce were little, we were in the temple, and they came home and said, "Did you see the big bright angel over mommy?" And I was like, "They're like very young, and they're not lying, and very bright." All I can say is from what they said, bright, and children can see angels. They can see angels, but I don't think adults really can. But the innocent age, they can. That's all I can say.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. We have cherubim. Did I get everybody? Because again, the memory and the vision. Okay. Thank you. The cherubim are helpful because they guard the Garden of Eden against getting anyone. Adam and Eve can't go back in there. You know, it's one of those great moments. We as Jews don't want to go back into the garden. The garden is closed off. We want to move forward into a future we shape. What's interesting, and that's a pretty mainstream notion, is a phrase in the traditional liturgy which I have real trouble with. And I will, if I had a shrink right now, I'd probably bring it to the shrink. Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem is used in the prayer service a lot. Renew our days as of old. I love to sing it. Chadesh, Chadesh Amenu, Chadesh Amen. I don't ever sing in public. You know why. So, but every time I sing it, I say to myself, we don't want to go back to the Garden of Eden. We don't want to go back to what was. We want to be involved in building today into a better future. That's tikkun. And I would say mainstream Jewish life, the cherub is there to tell us, no, you can't go back. Now, what does a cherub look like? Often 2 pairs of wings, one down, one up. There are some who say 6. I've only seen 4-winged cherubim, but that's it. How many faces? 4 faces: lion, ox, human, eagle.
Mm-hmm.
What does this sound like?
Ezekiel's will.
First of all, it's Ezekiel, but the Sphinx is also a critter with multiple animals like being together. The notion that a multi-animal being represents a source of truth and power, very much like this. What is this entity? The book of Psalms seems to refer to it as God's chariot, that God is conveyed through the heavens, riding on this. Then I have a question. How can we have images in the center of Jewish worship? We don't have images. Oh, yes, we do. We have cherubim on the ark, in the tabernacle, in the center of the people. Would someone please like to offer a 1 or 2 sentence explanation as to what that means, Steve? But please use the electronic.
I was about to. I was going to say that we're not worshiping them. The fact that you have the cherubim on the ark with their protective wings protecting what we believe to be holy, but we're not worshiping these images or these figures.
Okay, any other hands up on this? Any electronic hands? I'd like to see electronic hands. Panina, you're not raising an electronic hand, but okay.
No, but I'm raising a regular hand.
Merle and Ray and Donna.
Okay.
I don't think that how many people sit in the sanctuary and really look at what's around them? I think that the cherubim are symbolic of our past and how we're supposed to behave. It's like they're watching us, or they're watching down. They're not watching us, or they're not looking at each other. But I think it's a symbolism that how many people really pay attention to what is in that sanctuary, or even in their Jewish life, whether it's symbolism or reality. I think they're just something. I mean, how many arks do we see? And I've been in a lot of congregations that you see cherubim.
You reminded me, because there is an ark in North Miami Beach, to be specific, which is a walk-in ark. That's really troubling for me. The ark opens, the rabbi walks into the ark. It's like in a room, into the ark, and having the rabbi stand there in the ark really annoys me. And I would have to say, because Cindy, I saw the pictures that Doug portrayed of what the ark will look like in the University Synagogue building. And it will not be fully transparent so that you're always looking at the Torah scrolls, even when you're sitting. That has always been a problem for me.
For a lot of people.
I can't sit. Even though the ark has a door, it's a transparent door, and I have God. I carry broken shards with me. I can't comfortably sit in the presence of that. Please, Kevin, a hand up. Yes.
Yeah, there were some other people that had hands up before me, like
Okay,
Ray and
who are
but
they?
yeah. Well, I see
Go ahead.
Ray and
Okay, Kevin,
LA lady. But
and then
okay, I will
I'll-
go.
No,
No,
Kevin,
yeah.
go ahead. I'll get
Okay. So the image of a cherubim, the way that you're describing it is like a protector, like someone puts a sign that says poison, do not drink, or something visually that people understand as they shouldn't drink, they shouldn't open, they shouldn't do things. I'm just wondering if that's what a vision of it could be. And then a little side note, which I thought was funny, was carrying the ark with the pieces of the old 10 Commandments. In camping, you say, don't leave your trash behind, or don't leave anything behind. I don't know what they left behind. And then the other thing with camping, I've heard stories of older people taking their younger ones with them, and the younger ones are like all fit and everything. They just load their backpacks with rocks just to slow them down a little bit because they're too strong. But just a little side note.
You've had some interesting experiences camping. We could talk about that later. Okay, thank you. Ray, Carrie?
Yes, I was going to say.
Please, go ahead.
I'm wondering. Okay, in the entire chapter 25 here, I was wondering why the details, why the specificity on these construction elements. And actually, I think the details here are less important than what might be the overriding point of this. We have a prohibition against worshiping false idols, and false idols are created by man. They're subjective and they don't have permanence. And by going through and delineating all of these elements, regardless of what they are, the cherub and the details and the acacia wood and all these other specific items, what we have here is an objective standard that translates to permanence. And permanence is the exact opposite of the subjective worship of false idols, which changes as man changes. So I think the details are less important than the specificity with which these details are being commanded here. It's an objective standard that's presented by someone other than man.
That's a really great insight, and I appreciate it. That's a really great insight. Okay, Ray Kusaran.
Thank you. And I'm engaging with your other question about reconciling the images of the cherubim with a more contemporary understanding against graven images. And I have both an observation and a question. My question, but then I'll do the observation because I wanna. My question is chronologically, since I'm not a Wellhausen kind of expert, when we believe these different strains ended up in Torah chronologically. So I'll be curious to hear from someone who knows the answer to that question. But my observation, often my instinct, as some of you may remember, is I tend to read into a lot of how things like this evolve, the great frailty and imperfection and venality of humanity in how things get shaped through the centuries. And my take on how we, on the one hand, get a prohibition against images, but here we have well established the tradition of the cherubim images. I'm observing, I think, a behavior that is always with humanity and probably through all time of continual wishful revisionist thinking that reflects prejudice of your own moment. And I'm thinking this is a direct behavioral connection to what we observe in our own country, in our own time, when we see, for example, factions arguing for originalist Supreme Court justices, as though there is some permanently correct objective moment in time that we want to go back to, as in renew our days as in the past, even as many of us, including myself, will observe, well, we have a lot more information now and a lot more history to recognize than we did at that particular moment, and so that is not a valid construction. But I almost feel as if whichever generation was introducing the injunction against graven images was saying, well, we have now arrived at the correct construction of things, so no more graven images, and we are now drawing the permanent line for how things ought to be, and I will take no further negotiation on this point. So my observation and also my question to whomever wants to answer it.
When I hear people call themselves strict constructionists regarding the Constitution or the original intent, I assume that those people support slavery because slavery is absolutely built into the original intent of the founders. We sometimes say that slavery was folded in as a compromise so that it could be dealt with later. So that was folded into the Constitution. Didn't really mean it, folks, but work it out later. And we did. It's called the Civil War, which created a nightmare of human slaughter. So the same kind of a question goes to the Torah, our Constitution.
Mhm.
You have to be really cautious about saying what the Torah means on a number of ethical issues. Because if you speak in such a way that you believe you are unveiling the core of what the original authors meant, the odds are you're not, and the odds are you are superimposing on the text the values that you hold. The original text was misogynist. It didn't have a big place for women. We can spend all the time in the world looking for ways in which women were recognized, but I don't really believe that the original authors spent a lot of time giving equal status to women. Some places, yes. Slavery. Answer is yes. The Torah permits slavery in its original structure. You shall love the stranger as yourself. Ger, love the ger. As if we understand today what the authors of the text meant when they used the word ger. It's under constant argumentation. Was the ger somebody who was totally outside of your community? Well, that's a question. Love thy neighbor as thyself. How does that fit with love the stranger? So there are many, many, many things. Strict constructionists are playing a fool's game because they want the original text to reflect what they believe in their core is correct. And the question is only, I want the text to move in this direction, you want it to move in that direction. And in order to get your way, you're calling your way strict constructionist. Well, guess what? The amendments to the Constitution changed the Constitution. Thank God.
Thank God.
And liberal Judaism continued the process of growing the intentionality of Torah. What my biggest problem isn't that Reformed Jews came forward in the 19th century and changed the way we looked at Torah. My big complaint is that for some into the 17th century at least, the process of updating, growing, raising the moral level of Torah continued within the traditional Jewish community. And only, let's say, in the 18th century, as a reaction over against the Haskalah and the Enlightenment, only then did the Orthodox, not even properly named at that point, only then did the guardians of Jewish tradition shut down the process of keeping Torah alive and responsive to an evolving world. We weren't the first ones to do it. It was, why were there 25 sects or denominations or whatever of Jews in the days of the Second Temple? But then we developed the notion in the 18th century there was only one orthodoxy.
Is that a scribe?
There's only one right way to teach the law. And that is a falsification of Jewish history. It's a question that could go on forever. I see so many hands up, and I'm happy to say we have 1 minute left. So I'm going to go Kevin, Merle, Larry, Ray, and you're going to each get 1 second to speak.
I didn't mean to have my hand up. I'm going to put it down. But I did want to say I had a vision of Marc Chagall's great-great-great-great-grandfather hammering out I guess these artwork on the artwork, just, beautiful artist.
Okay, your second's up. Merle?
I think what your comment about the love thy stranger, I think, as you would yourself, I think that goes along with what you said about how many people do we know in our apartment buildings or our neighborhood. We still need to, my mother lived in a high rise in Westwood and knew 2 people in the building, for 30 years, maybe 3 people. We'll give it but you respect one another. You take care of one another, especially if there's an emergency or something happens. I was very grateful for the help I got from the people in the building who didn't even know my mother when my mother was so sick.
Thank you. Ray, Carrie?
Judaism is very different than American jurisprudence. Judaism is interpreted through Mishra and rabbinical interpretation. The US Constitution is changed through amendments by elected representatives. It's not the job of the judges, the Supreme Court, or any judge to change to change the Constitution. That is done through representatives. The Torah is not changed or amended, it's interpreted.
So is the Constitution. Legally, it's virtually an identical process.
Okay, that gives us something that we could do for an hour or two. Okay, Brad, you had your hand up? Brad? Yeah. You're still muted, Brad.
Interested in your comment about original intent. And what role then do we give to the science of philology today, where we go back and study what these words meant over time and the changes that these words mean? Philology would seem to point us in that direction of original intent.
I think that's a solid point. Usually you do make really solid points, so that if you're taking the word, yeah, one of the things which I don't have time to do because we're all out of time, so I'm going to speak very rapidly, is to say that Maimonides, for example, was a great example of someone who looked at a very clear statement of there are cherubim and there are angels, and Maimonides turned it around and said, no, you aren't talking about angels. You are talking about part of the expression of God's active intellect, and they are aspects of divine expression, and angels do not exist the way they're described in the Torah. So, yes, and philology is a great doorway into trying to dig down. What is a person in the Constitution? What constitutes a person? That isn't clear unless you realize they don't really mean African Americans. It's a different thing. We got to go forward. Anyone else want to say something?
I want to talk about the mercy seat real quick, about the gold.
Okay, but you got to do it in 5 seconds.
Okay, the gold is pure gold because when it's purified through fire, the dross rises to the top. It's communal, community, and God dwells with us. And that's why it's all pure gold, because the dross and our sins, we repent, we change, we evolve, we get better, get closer to God. He gets closer to us, get closer to one another.
We have to stop. Does someone else have a 1 second, Penina?
Okay. As a teacher, I'm looking at it in a very practical way. There is a saying that says, "Chanoch layeled al pi darko," teach a child according to his way of understanding.
Yes.
The people that were introduced to the cherubs in the beginning were used to idols. The message was conveyed to them to an idol, actually, to get them to the point where once they open the casket, they cannot see any other idol. It's going to be more spiritual understanding, not physical. But to get to that point, they needed a physical way. And that was—
I like that a lot, Penina. I like that a lot. Does someone else, because I've been so bad on seeing today, has anyone else have something that needs to be said before we do Kaddish? Can I tell you thank you for today? Whoa.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Those who have passed away during the past month: Steve Astrakhan, Susan Brody, Daniel Dworsky, Elaine Edelstein, Beverly Feinstein, Robert Joseph Flicker, Richard Dick, Bernard Halligan, John Harris, Annette Henkin Landau, Alexander Lauterbach, Steve Leventhal, Anita Marston, Yvette Mimieux, Janice Sarnoff, Bella Schimmel Desser, Sunli Sun, Marvin Jack Teitelbaum, Ruth Tober, Steve Tolkien, Iraj Eliyahu Yedidzian. And now the yortzites that have occurred during this past week. Eliana Burrowfine, Mary Berman, Benjamin Blum, David Blumenstein, Sorrel Book, Paul Brock, Anna Brody, Deborah Broner, Herman Berg, Henry Kleinick Kahn, Ruth Camplin, Richard Shannon, Michael Chesler, David Cohn, Joel Curry, Gladys Davis, Harold Dunzes, Afida Doro, Robert Ehrman, Sheila Feldman, Sidney Fell, Hildy Ann Fell, Ann Glansrock, Esther Goldberg, Eva Golden, Edward Goldfeder, Herbert Goldinger, Samuel Goodman, Belle Gordon, Lorianne Gordon, William Green, Evelyn Guggenheim, Edith Guggenheim, Azad Halimi, Samuel Warner Halper, Elizabeth Hartfield, Eugene Holden, Boaz Hopenstand, Willie Jacobson, Elizabeth Jane Kahana, Marvin Kalin, Vicky Carcomi, Bruno Katz, Melvin Kaimak, Jeremiah Kerner, Natalie Kaiser, Meyer Ben Natan Kakshuri, Ida Kirshner, Halbert Klein, Amali Lou Kalpus, Ronald Kanov, Cleo Kopelson, Jacob Koppel, Sam Kopolsky, Jessica Korn, Ray Dawidoff Gosberg, Bernard Krakow, Rosa Kren, Chaim Kurtzman, Geraldine Lapidus, Emelina, Arthur Levin, Zelda Malachowski, Nathan Marblestone, Sam Menkes, Joel Miller, Lillian Miller, Edward Mitchell, Naomi Moyer, Michael Nash, Muni Oster, Thea Persoff, Francine Peterman, Stephen Platt, Eudice Pulgar, Bullock Rayner, Shirley Ribicoff, William Richmond, Nate Rosenberg, Alice Rosenzweig, Fred Rosenoff, Ewell Roston, Lillian Roth, Gerald Rubin, Frida Sachs, Alan Saldinger, Marlene Sauer, Morris Saban, Mark Stephen Schwartz, Rose Siegel, Lillian Sinitsky, Neville Shear, Abraham Shevitz, Ann Schrager, Ephraim Silber, Kenny Singer, Bruce Stein, Leon Julia Steinsapir, Alice Sugarman, Boyd Sweet, Morris Taricka, Jerome Tober, Erna Viterbi, Dinah Waller, Evelyn Wasserman, Joseph Wexler, Ida Weisblatt, Ida Weissman, Sam Weitz, Ronald Frank Whippern, Irvin Wixon, Ruth Ziegler. If there are other names that we should mention now, and I did not mention, please speak their names aloud at this time or speak them in your hearts.
Garvin Peterson.
Sylvia Brevik.
We include as well the names of all who died in defense of the United States, who died in defense of the state of Israel, those who died through senseless acts of terror, those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We join together in Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah v'yalmad v'yifrach yutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayei uvyomei v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'yifru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah Olam le'olmei almaya Yisbarach v'yishtabach v'yishba'ar v'yitramah v'yitnaseh v'yitar v'yitalel v'yitalal shemei v'kudishah v'elam v'yikom birchata v'shirata tushachata v'nechemata v'aviran v'alma
Yeah, Amen.
Shlama Rabba min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu now call Yisrael.
Call Israel.
Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom Yisrael. Hu
Yes.
Ya'aseh
Elena,
I'll call you
Israel.
Amen.
Amen.
May whom he who makes peace in the high places make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, and let us say,
Amen.
I apologize to those whose family names I might have mispronounced. I would like to say thank you. This was another extraordinary morning. Really, really good. Thank you for making it so.
Thank you.
Love you all. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thanks, everyone.
Stay safe, okay, folks? Stay
God bless you.
safe.
You too.
We love you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Abinu Makenu. Abinu Makenu. Love you. I love the flowers in your hair. They're so precious.